G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another Am I the A-hole episode. Now if you love me like I love you, then you know what to do. I want you to just bloody tackle that like button and chuck an Aussie flag down in the comments. Now with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody contentious drama. Now our first post is by user Emergency Drama 1, titled, Am I an a-hole for telling my husband to grow a pair? So, my husband and I have been together for 16 years, married for 11. He has always had a pretty low pain tolerance, though he won't admit it. Once he accidentally kneed one of our toddler's Hot Wheel cars, and it put him out of commission for the entire day, although nothing was broken or even bruised. I've become alarmed many times at his overreactive responsive to things like stubbing his toe or hitting his funny bone on something. He will literally moan and whine and shout out in pain over the most minor stuff. I always thought it was a quirk of his, not too major to actually have a conversation about, until yesterday. I have what my doctor believes is Crohn's disease, and I've been in the thick of a nasty flare-up for the last few days. For those of you unfamiliar, it's an inflammatory bowel disease and causes diarrhea, vomiting, etc. I was trying to take a nap for some relief and had just gotten to sleep when I hear an actual scream from downstairs. I jump out of bed and find my husband clutching his hand. I ask what happened and he told me he pinched his finger in the baby gate. I looked at it and it wasn't even red, no broken skin. I told him he woke me up with his scream and probably also woke up our son, and he said he couldn't help it, it just hurt so bad. I said, you know what else hurts? Crapping my brains out all morning and not being able to take a nap because you're being so loud over a minor mishap. He got really offended and said that I wouldn't like it if I pinched my finger either, and I said no, I sure wouldn't, but I also wouldn't scream my head off. I didn't even do that when I was giving birth to a 9-pound baby unmedicated. He said, well, your body was made to do that. I'm not made to get my finger stuck in a baby gate. That's when I rolled my eyes, told him to grow a pair, and went back upstairs to try and rest. Yes, I said it out of anger, but my husband is acting like I emasculated him horribly and insulted him to his very core, and is barely speaking to me. I'm not in any hurry to apologize, especially since he didn't for waking me up when I'm dealing, pretty silently, with objectively more pain than he was. ETA, I can pretty definitively say that he doesn't have an underlying medical condition. He has to go get medical checkups for work regularly. I honestly agree with most of the comments stating that he just wants attention. The overreaction ramps up when I'm having a flare or when we're at a big family gathering or something. NTA. Either he is using it as a way to get attention, most likely, or he needs to talk to his doctor about it. It's definitely not normal to have that low of a pain tolerance. Not the a-hole. His low pain tolerance isn't the problem, it's his reaction to it. You can control your reactions to things. I'm sure we've all been in a situation where you hurt yourself and go to involuntarily swear, but realize you're around a child and stop yourself. When he screams, he's making his pain everyone else's problem. He needs to be an adult and control his responses. Pop psychology. I'm betting mum gave him lots and lots of love and attention when he vocally expressed that he hurt himself. Maybe see if you can find a way of reinforcing him when he doesn't react. Alright, and our next post is by user WFHStress2020, titled, Am I the a-hole for being annoyed my girlfriend has started dressing weird recently? My girlfriend always dressed comfortably and practically until recently. She works at a professional job, and she would usually wear jeans, sneakers, t-shirts, or sweaters, etc. About a month ago, she had her friend shave both sides of her head, but leave hair on the top and back of her head. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but she said she wanted it for a while, but she was too afraid of being embarrassed if it turned out badly. But now that everyone is working from home, nobody can go out, she can took the chance and she loves it. Then she bleached her brown hair to blonde. Then in a week she dyed it to fluorescent green. And she was buying a lot of new clothes. Crop tops and tank tops, really loud patterned pants, platform sneakers that look like running shoes but have a sole that's like 3 inches tall, just generally flashy and eccentric stuff. And whenever I ask, she says that this is more her style, but she is just more comfortable getting into it when there's less social pressure. She's stopped wearing bras, and that's also awkward because I can tell she gets stares. I asked what she's going to do when she has to go back to work. She said that she'd dress appropriately, but obviously couldn't change her hair. But she said she didn't think that would be a problem. She'd been practically indispensable during the difficult time the company was having recently, and couldn't see there being any trouble over hair. I've also said I don't love her new look, and she's always like, I don't look that different, like it's still me. But honestly, she does look really different. We had a fight after I asked her a couple of times to just wear normal things when we hang out together, and she got really upset with me over it, saying that she was just trying to have some fun and trying something different, and it was really rude of me to tell her how to dress. Am I the a-hole for being annoyed with my girlfriend's change in style? You're the a-hole. It's a tough time for everyone, and changing things up is a way of coping. Less social pressure can allow her to be more free while being stuck in the house. If you can't see beyond superficial things like hair and clothes, that's your problem, not hers. Gentle, you're the asshole from here. I understand that it's not what you like, but asking her to wear normal things was not good. Your normal? Hers? She is changing her look and you don't like it. That's fine, but it's her look, and she's allowed to change it. If it bothers you that much, end the relationship. Trying to force someone into a mold that you deem acceptable is controlling and not okay. You could have approached this a lot better than you did. Have an actual conversation instead of basically telling her that her current clothes are abnormal. Righto, and our next post is by user Time Kitchen, titled, Am I the a-hole for suddenly disinviting my father 4 days before my wedding? He even paid for my wedding and I haven't spoke to him since. Just to be clear, I got married in early February. I have always been very close to my father and stepmom growing up. I always felt like they offered me a stable home for me to grow up in. I never had that with my mother. During the last few years of my parents' marriage, my mother changed as a person. She was a happy and cheerful person when we were younger. She really changed after the divorce. She was miserable, and I felt that. I could tell that she hated the fact that I preferred to live with my dad, but never verbalized her feelings. She has been single since the divorce and refuses to date other people. I always wanted to have a joint birthday parties with my mum, dad, and stepmom, but my mum wouldn't have it. She avoided my father like the plague. I never understood her behavior and resented her for it. Quite naturally, I preferred my dad's household over my mum's. Anyways, right before my wedding, I was staying at my dad's. One night, I overheard my dad and stepmom reminiscing about how they met. Now, they always told us that they met 6 months after the divorce at a library. Turns out they lied. They were talking about how my father couldn't take his eyes off her the moment she walked into his office, and how he wanted her from that moment on, and how he didn't care that he had a pregnant wife at home. Apparently their first kiss was a few days after I was born, and the first time they had sex was on my parents' 3rd anniversary. I was only a few months old back then. They were talking about how difficult it was for them to continue their relationship after they got caught when I was 5. This was extremely shocking to me because my parents got divorced when I was 10. They were also making fun of my mum's weight. This meant that they carried on an affair throughout my parents' marriage. I remember my mum changing for the worse when I was in 2nd grade. My mum always knew and she never told me. I broke down crying that night and I felt really guilty because the way I acted towards my mum growing up. I had no idea she went through so much. I was cheated on by my first boyfriend in college, and it destroyed me. I felt horrible. That night, I didn't confront my dad, but the next morning I packed up my crap and transferred the amount he had spent on my wedding. I didn't want his money. I told him I heard everything and asked him to stay away from my wedding. I left their house and drove to my mum's. I hugged her really hard and we both cried. I had my mum walk me down the aisle, and I made sure my dad's family didn't attend the wedding. I didn't explicitly disinvite my half-brother, but he stayed away from my wedding, and I'm actually glad he didn't come. I don't think I want anything to do with any of them anymore. I've heard from the grapevine that my dad is on antidepressants nowadays. My grandma blames me for his depression. Did I overreact? I still don't want anything to do with him. My dad's family thinks I was, and I am being cruel to him. Am I the a-hole? And I corrected a typo. For the people doubting it's fake, I'm not quoting what I heard. I'm paraphrasing what they were talking about. I'm stating the things I got to know that night, and yes, they were drinking. People got that right. Not the a-hole. So your views of who your dad is were changed overnight, and it was revealed that your dad is a dick who messed up your mum mentally. Yeah, nah. I don't think you're overreacting. Those actions are unforgivable for a lot of people. You're especially not the jerk because you gave back the money. I have so much respect for your mum for keeping that crap to herself. That's one of the more impressive things I've ever heard. By the way, you're not to blame for his depression. He is. He made the awful decisions that led to him where he is. The bigger a lie gets, the more powerful it will be when it all comes crashing down. And our next post by AmITheA throwaway red ra, titled, "Would I be the a-hole if I refused to let my niece wear white to my wedding?" Situation started about 5 months ago. My wedding was set for the 30th of this month, but it was postponed. Before the postponing though, we had decided to make my future niece-in-law, the flower girl. She's about to turn 7, is the sweetest little girl, and I thought the role would suit her perfectly. Needless to say, her mum approved, and she was ecstatic when I asked the both of them if they would be willing to take on this role. Where the discourse starts is this. We have a group chat for the female wedding guests, so that no one matches the same dress, suggestions, etc. And her mum posted a picture of a small, pure white dress in the chat, saying that it was for her daughter. I really wasn't okay with this in any capacity. I think the wearing white to a wedding is tacky, and could be taken the wrong way. For example, trying to upstage the bride. So I privately messaged my future sister-in-law and asked her to maybe look at other options, like maybe a light pastel blue or pink, or something of the like. However, she told me that her daughter is really into the white dress, and that she really loves it, and it's really just a dress, and shouldn't be a big deal. Plus, it shouldn't even bother me, because no one should see it as upstaging, considering she's literally a child. While I agree with her in some ways, my final answer was no. That conversation happened around a month ago. Since the postpone, she has taken time to reach out to me multiple times to try and convince me to change my stance, saying that her daughter would be heartbroken if she couldn't wear the dress. They've both fallen in love with it, etc. My answer every time has been a firm no. I told my fiancé about this, and he got upset with me, telling me about how I was making a big fuss over a child's dress color, and that this really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of all things. Originally, I felt because this was my/our wedding, I had the right to be firm on my stances, but I'm really starting to feel like a jerk for possibly raining on a child's parade. Am I? Edit to clarify, yes, I am aware that most weddings feature a flower girl wearing white. This is not by any means an extremely by-the-books traditional wedding. Being the only one wearing white is my personal preference. Let this sink in. She is 7. She is 7. She won't steal the thunder. No one will confuse her for the bride. I won't give a judgment, but come on, she's 7 and the flower girl. Alright, our next post is by Too Much Sauce Bro, titled, "Am I the a-hole for not wanting to lie about having a baby with a lesbian?" So I, 30 male, had a son with my ex when we were teenagers. We were 15 and 16. My son is about to turn 15 in May. We did not intend on having a child that young, but we decided to make it work. It was a wonderful decision and I love my son so much. Our relationship did not last, as my ex realized she was a gay a couple years after our son was born. We ended on good terms and currently split custody of my son. My son stays with me and my girlfriend, 29 female, during the week, and his mother and her wife on the weekends. My girlfriend and I just moved in together recently, and I have just begun to get close with her family recently as well. My girlfriend and son get along very well, but my girlfriend wants me to lie about the situation I have with my son. For context, my girlfriend's family is very religious, Jehovah's Witnesses, and while she's not as religious as they are, she fears they will judge me or not like me when they find out that I had a child with a lesbian who was very involved in my son's life. She also told me they would be uncomfortable with the fact I had a child outside of wedlock. My girlfriend's suggestion was to lie, and tell her parents, if it ever came up, that I was previously married to my son's mother, and that she left me, or passed away, and to absolutely not mention the lesbian part. I don't feel comfortable lying about my son for several reasons. I love this woman and I want any love her family has for me to be based on authenticity. I don't want to set the precedent for my son that lying is acceptable to make people like you. I do not believe it is wrong to be gay, and I won't tiptoe around it in order to spare feelings. My son is a valid and legitimate person whose story matters, and I won't erase that because it is a little different than most people. My girlfriend is really upset with me, and says that it isn't a big deal and that my son doesn't even need to know. She is hesitant to let me spend time with her parents now, and after this stay-at-home order is over. Am I the asshole? So Skungle Suck says, you don't need to lie. Your ex's sexual orientation is of no business to anyone. You were together and now you aren't. It's that simple. I certainly wouldn't be making up lies, especially one where my ex is dead. I mean, Jesus Christ. Not the arsehole. There's perfectly acceptable ways of acknowledging your ex without bringing her sexuality into it at all. If she cares so much about her family's approval, then maybe she should just live with them. This kind of fear or behavior would be an early warning sign that she's dependent on her family's approval to the point she's asking you to lie. That isn't what sounds like a healthy relationship to me. As a former Jehovah's Witness, the desire to stay somewhat acceptable to your family is strong because they cut you off if they deem you as a sinner. This is very challenging to someone who was raised in a cult. It's scary to be rejected this way. Alright, and our next post is by user Ferret for Life, titled, Am I the a-hole for secretly giving my daughter fattening smoothies? What the fuck? I'm a single mother of 2 identical twin girls that are 15 years old. The daughter I'll be talking about is Kylie, and the other is Amber. Fake names, obviously. It started a few months ago when I noticed Kylie would eat less at dinner. I began to get worried when she was completely skipping dinner, always making excuses like, I feel sick, or I don't like it. Eventually I would sit her down so she wasn't allowed to leave until she finished everything on her plate. Surprisingly, she obliged easily, and this was the routine for a couple weeks. I thought her phase was over as she would eat everything without a hassle. One day, Amber told me that Kylie hasn't been eating at school and throwing up after dinner. I was very worried, of course, and immediately got a therapist and a doctor's appointment to check her health. The doctor said that she had lost a bit of weight, but it wasn't threatening at the moment, but she would need it managed and checked regularly. She had a therapist appointment 2 to 3 times a week. Not much came of it, and after about a month, she was thinner and weaker. It was horrible. I just wanted to help her. She fainted at cheer practice and hurt her hip, and this was my breaking point. I had to do something. Every morning she would make a smoothie, with stuff like berries and vegetables, in an attempt to be healthy. So I decided to order 5 kilograms of weight gain formula that's used for muscle growth. Every morning I would make her these healthy smoothies, and she never questioned it. The doctor was pleased by her weight gain. I had told him about the formula, and he said it was fine as it was helping and keeping her from a risk BMI. Everything was going great. Thankfully, she was making progress with the therapist, and each day she was improving more. During this time, she was rarely able to do cheer, which motivated her to get healthy. One morning, I was careless and left the bag on the bench before rushing to work. I thought it would be fine as Kylie rarely ever goes into the kitchen, and she had to leave to go to school, so anyways. I was wrong and she found the bag. She refused to talk to me for 2 days, and I was scared she would get sick again. Her therapist asked to speak to me after their session, and she practically told me that I was an asshole, not in those words obviously, that I had betrayed her trust and set back months of progress because of my actions. I don't feel bad though. I did what I needed to help her, and she's in a better place now than she would be without it. She's doing better now and showing much better improvement this past month, but she doesn't speak to me much, and I miss talking to her. I think what I did was necessary, but am I the a-hole? Your intentions were good, but the way you handled it makes you the a-hole. You should have discussed this with her therapists before doing this. You've now jeopardized all of her progress. Hope she gets better soon. Your wording reminds me of a quote, not direct, but the way I remember it is, We judge others on their actions, we judge ourselves on our intentions. That's not just a quote, it's a psychological fact. It's called the fundamental attribution error, and we all pretty much do it. Alright, and our next post is by Lego Cookie, titled, Am I the a-hole for getting my cousin's girlfriend banned from family dinners? So, my boyfriend, 19 male, has been dating me, 19 female, since we were 14. I'm close with my uncles, aunties, cousins, and grandparents. We get together often to hang out, celebrate holidays, and eating out for birthdays. We eat out like every month together. My boyfriend almost always comes with me. My extended family and him love each other and consider each other family. At our dinners, either I pay, my parents pay, or me and my parents both pay partially for whatever I order. My boyfriend pays for what he orders. Whenever the two of us go on dates, we both pay for whatever we order most of the time. We both like this arrangement. We both work and have very close salaries. My cousin's, 32 male, girlfriend, 33 female, have been coming to these dinners for the past 2 years. However, the past year she's been rude and sexist, in my opinion, to my boyfriend. It started with her passively aggressively loudly talking about how guys who are good boyfriends always pay for the girl's order. She also would announce how she's ordering certain expensive items and drinks. She started telling my boyfriend at dinners that he should be paying for me. She got more and more rude about it, telling him he doesn't deserve me. She once went to confront him about it when he went to the bathroom. I tried talking to my cousin about it, but he just says he can't control her behavior. I try defending my boyfriend to her sometimes when she makes these comments, but it doesn't stop. So I talked to some family about it and they agreed that she was being really rude. They told my cousin to get her to cut it out, but she kept doing it. After she confronted him, my family decided my cousin's girlfriend wasn't welcome to the dinners anymore until she apologizes. My cousin is now furious at me, calling me a snitch and saying how unfair it is a dumb teen relationship is getting priority among our family over their adult relationship. He has been cold to me since. I wasn't setting out to get her banned, but this is what my family decided. I love my boyfriend and I want him to feel comfortable. I also love my cousin and I know how great it is to have your significant other close with your family. So I guess the OP wants to know, are they the a-hole in this situation? And QWERTY-ish007 says, not the a-hole. If a 33-year-old can't be civil to a teenager, then they should be banned. The cousin also doesn't know what a snitch is. How can you snitch to someone about something that is happening right in front of them? Not the a-hole. Alright, and our last one is by Clear Chest, titled, Am I the a-hole for possibly encouraging my son to break up with his girlfriend and telling him I have regrets about marrying his mother/my wife? How can you make that one not the asshole in this situation? How? My son will be starting college this fall. He will be attending a school out of state while his girlfriend stays home to attend college. Because of the distance, they have been discussing whether or not they will try to make things work, and they have struggled to make a decision. He asked his mum and me what we thought he should do, and for a long time, I refused to advise him other than to make some very high-level comments and generalizations. His mother/my wife, on the other hand, has encouraged him to stay with his girlfriend, even though I asked her to remain impartial. My son continued to ask me for my opinion, and because his mum weighed in, I felt like he needed to hear my perspective. This is because my wife has used us as an example to show him that high school sweethearts can last. She's not wrong, but she has only given one side of our story to our son, and I felt he needed to know my perspective, which I have not shared with our kids until now. To make a long story short, we were high school sweethearts, but in many ways, I regret choosing to make a commitment to my wife when we were so young. We had a similar issue. I applied to graduate schools and ended up getting offers from schools in New York and LA, which I really liked. I would have probably attended one, but my wife did not want to move to either place, which forced me to choose. I have always wondered how my life would have gone had I chosen a different path. I told my son all of this and advised him to think about it if he wants that hanging over him while he is away at school. To be tied down like this during the best years of his life is going to give him a very different college experience and probably limit him in many ways. I did not tell him that he should break up, but I did strongly urge him to consider if he is prepared to make that sacrifice and end up like me, wondering what he missed out on. Apparently, my daughter overheard this conversation and relayed it to my wife. My wife has taken this very hard, and so have my daughters. But I don't think that what I said was wrong. I don't think I am wrong for wanting our son to avoid the same. He has many plans which are not compatible with that girlfriend he wants. She is a local girl like my wife, and probably will never want to leave our town or explore the world. So either he is going to end up fighting her over this and feeling bad because he wants to experience life, or things will ultimately not work out. If the latter is the case, it is better to end it now so that at least he can enjoy college. Am I the asshole? I don't know, guys. You guys can decide. You be the judge of this one. That's my god. I know he has a little bit of a point there, but ultimately it's his son's life in the end, isn't it? What do you guys think of this one today? Tell me what you think. Judge, jury, executioner, that can be you guys on today's episode. I'd love to know what you thought about everyone. Tell me which cases you think are good, which ones are bad. Alright, this has been Markee. Got no time left. I'm gonna head to bed in a second. Hope you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.